Okay, well, even though it can seem to be very complex, this is a very simple answer, which is really wonderful, because when something's this simple, it's easy to apply. And what's been forgotten is the most basic thing, and that it's that you have judged thoughts that you have heard in your mind, which even though intellectually you understand and accept, you're saying that they're attack thoughts and that they're from the ego and that they're not your thoughts, you still have an idea that if you expose those thoughts, as in if you say them out loud or raise them up either to the person that you perceive you're having the thoughts about or to another, that there's a chance that they'll be hurt. And so that there's a resistance to doing that. But that's not the real reason that you're afraid of exposing those thoughts. And so I like to come back to the very simplest thing. It's like, how do you feel? Because when you are hiding something, when you are not completely transparent for any reason, the more aware you become, the more that rubs on you, and the more it won't feel good. And so you have not yet begun to associate that discomfort in the mind, that distress in your experience, with the withholding of the attack thought, which is not yours. So in a very simple way, what you need to do is just look at the fact that you do not like how you feel and decide that you would like to feel differently. And then with the spirit, say, hey, I'm wondering, could it be that attack thought that was there earlier that I agreed to share and expose and raise up when it would come, so that it would not divide myself from my friend? Do you think that might be what it is? And even if it's not, let's say, the genesis of the disgruntled experience, it's the very thought that there could be something blocking communication between yourself and your friend that will make you feel bad. Because that thought alone, that maybe there's a block, is in the way. So how do you get in the flow of it, and how does it become so natural? You recognize and associate how you feel with hiding. That's it. You recognize how you feel with hiding and withholding attack thoughts that are against you, that are not your own, that when you join with a mind training partner and you raise them up together to look at what's being said in their mind, which is not personal to a person, and yet is your responsibility. So you're not responsible for the error, which is the attack thought, the theme of it, all of the nuances of it, yet you are responsible for the correction. And so that's what you want to do. You want to really come back and go, oh, look, I just don't like how I feel. And yet, as you expose them and raise them up, the desire now is to feel good. Now, there is no blame going to be there. If you notice that you have attack thoughts that you are joining in, that you agree with, that are pointing at a person, and as you expose those thoughts, you want to get a dig in and make them a little bit right, then what you're going to miss out on is the reason you feel bad is because you feel defended. And the only reason those attack thoughts have another's name on them as opposed to your own character's name is because of projection. Not projection from one character to another, but projection in the mind. And the closer it comes home, those attack thoughts, the easier it is to let them go. So let's give a for example. You have an attack thought and you notice you start looking suspiciously at your friend. And then there's a guilty feeling because you don't really like that you just had that attack thought, but you sure don't want to let them know. So one of the indicators is anything that you would hide, especially if you're in an agreed relationship whereby this is something to expose and raise up so that it doesn't become between the two of you. These blocks to communication, these seeming blocks to communication, which are artificial because communication is constant and because there only is one mind, are essential. And it takes a little courage at first, but oh my God, you feel so amazing. I remember that I had a partner once and he turned around and he gave me an entire list of everything he hated and his frustrations and how he was feeling. And it was in a group expression session. And at the end of it, I looked at him. I was actually the one expressing. I shared all of these thoughts and I looked at him and he just smiled at me. And there was this gushing, rushing love coming out of me. Because once those attack thoughts were lifted up, it was gone. The hatred was gone, and it was self-hatred. I felt terrible. I had to speak because I felt terrible. And anything that withholds and contracts is the opposite of transparency and awakening and communion. And you want to get back into a state of awareness which says, wow, I'm not limited by this small sense of self, this idea of being encased in a body and a personality and a self-concept. I am not that. What am I? And it brings you face to face with your own authentic identity as Christ. You are instantly restored. When you take courage and you're just willing to give it all away, all of what the self-concept is terrified of losing in order to be pristine and clean with your brother in Christ. It's absolutely essential, and it's everything. And if you want to feel alive and lit and passionate and transcendent, well, that's where your devotion needs to be.